Uh,
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Can anybody hear me? I'm not getting any audio output. Okay, sorry for that delay. Good evening, everyone. This is Akwamfon Eventus. I'm a growth data analyst with a marketing agency and a colleague of Samuel. So today we are going to be having a discussion about data analytics, and how to become a data professional. So, this is going to be a class, and for us to make the most of this, we have to give it 100% of our attention, our eyes peeled, our ears open, and hope to make the most of it. I'd like to confirm that I'm talking to people, so if it's possible, just say something on the chat box so that I can get some feedback before moving ahead. Okay, good to go. So, introduction to data analytics. Tonight we are going to be discussing the concepts, the tools, and we're going to be sharing some roadmap on how to navigate our way into the data analytics ecosystem and a data analysts and data analytics profession. So I would just like to give disclaimers before we go ahead. So we are going to be talking about data analytics as a superset, and then we are going to be talking about data analysis and how to become a data analyst as a subset of data analytics. So we are going to be learning both the broader picture and the smaller picture. So without much of talk, let's get into the lecture. So this is the outline for tonight's class, and we are going to start with definitions and understanding what data is, what data analytics is, and why. We're also going to discuss the industry, about the industries that data analytics are functional and important. And we're also going to discuss the roles and opportunities, after which we are going to move on to discuss the data analytics process as well as the skills and tools of the profession. And we're going to have a discussion on how to become a data professional. I'm going to be giving recommended learning parts. This is when the actual call to action resources will be shared. So if you're not staying all the way, you're not going to get that part of the class. And we're going to discuss some pickup lines and icebreakers on how to break in and integrate within into the system, both locally and also in the international space. And finally, we will be able to take questions and possibly share some useful tips at the end of the class. So we move ahead. So really, what is what is data analytics? Excuse me. So truly, what is data analytics? What is data analysis? And why do we need data analytics and data analysis? Why and what? So first we have to deconstruct the entire concept from the top. What is data? We need to understand what data is so we can understand what analysis of data would entail, and then why we even need to go about such endeavor. So data analytics in its very simple definition. according to Coursera, is the collection, transformation, and organization of data in order to draw conclusions, make predictions, and drive informed decision making. So we have the first three steps, and then we have the resultant steps being the conclusion to predict and also to make informed decisions. So data analytics is, like I said, is a superset, and data analysis is within data analytics. But what is data first to start with? So um, data is what you need, in my own definition, at the practical level. I would say data is what you need to know how to solve your problems. It is the intelligence you need in order to make the most of the situation. So we generate data every day within ourselves and within our cell phones. Every text message you send, every app crash on your phone, every app you install, every interaction with your phone is a data point. And that is just within your personal interaction with modern devices. We also have this same level of interaction within the industrial and enterprise level. So it gives you the idea that the volume of data that we have out there and the volume of data that we generate on a moving process is so it's getting huge and it's getting very complex. So we have different kinds of data. We have the string data, you have the numbers, you have different forms of data, and we generate all of these in real time and in larger volumes because we have more devices, we have more things to do with technology, and that's how we have data. And in order for us to make sense of what we can do to improve the services we have, to improve the current state of life and even technology itself, we have to analyze those data. We have to make sense out of everything that has happened in the past in order to understand how we can optimize the present and then also predict the future. So that is what data is, and that is why we need data analytics. So data analytics consists of the collection, the transformation, and organization of data. While data analysis, data analytics is often confused with data analysis because they are related terms, you get. And but really it's not. Data analysis is within data analytics because when you move to the next definition, we can see that data analysis really is the process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling data with the goal of discovering useful information and informing conclusions. So it is a subset of the superset of data analytics. Sometimes we interchangeably use words as um, data science and data analytics. So it can be used interchangeably, but just understand tonight that they're not exactly the same thing. One is a superset of the other, and one is a subset of the other. So with these clarifications being made as per what data is, what data analytics is, and what data analysis is, we're going to move forward to discussing the industry, the entire data ecosystem, the roles within this ecosystem, and the opportunities within this ecosystem. So we know that we have lots of industry. I can access how many industries we think um, data would be useful, and I know you have a response to that question. So this is how that we're going to discuss the industries, the roles, and the opportunities, and probably more like the main thing um, that brought us for this discussion and this class. So let's get into it. Okay, so um, I wanted to give us a little challenge for us to challenge our imagination and reality as per the industries that needs data. But since I'm getting a little bit, having a little bit of latency issues here, there's lagging and I cannot really get your response in real time. I will save us the stress and just go ahead with the um, presentation. So let's just keep our ears peeled and take notes. So So what are the roles within the data ecosystem? What are the roles within the data analytics industry, and how are they different from industry to industries? And what do you need to know in order to become one, and how do you begin that journey? That's probably one of the biggest reasons why we are having this class tonight. And this right here is a very good attempt at answering most of those questions in depth. And for the very purpose of the fact that it is an important part of the entire presentation, we will take some time. We will take some time to understand both the demands of the role, the industries that it can be used, and then also understand the skills that it demands, both at the beginner level, intermediate level, and advanced level. We're also going to be looking at the possible salary expectations in some of these data professionals, as well as have resources as to where we can begin our journey. So, starting at the top of the hierarchy, in no particular order, is the data consumer. So, who is the data consumer? Data consumers use data to make data driven decisions and actively have informed conversations with data practitioners. So, we at some point and most points in our lives, we are data consumers. Even at this point of this discussion, we are exchanging data, we are consuming data, and eventually, to meet the bottom line of why data exists, we are going to use some of the information from this class tonight to influence the decisions in our personal lives. So, this is in practical terms how data functions at a very basic level, and then you carry that same concept into the industrial space and you solve basically the same problems using data to improve processes, to improve businesses, and to improve lives. So we have the data consumer at the top of the food chain, and the most commonly used tools as a data consumer, if you are at an enterprise level, would be Power BI and Tableau. That's specific tools, but under at the broad term for it would be business intelligence tool, and spreadsheets too can also be used to consume data, and you can read articles, you can read brochures, magazine, whatever it is, any piece of communication object is communicating data, and it can be useful as a data consumer to make your decisions. So the possible job titles of a data consumer would be maybe the chief marketing officer, the human resource manager, head of sales and development. You can think of any managerial role, someone who is at the highest stake of business that can use the information that has been organized in a meaningful way to inform the decision of the future and the present. So um, we're going to move ahead to see what skills expectation you would need to be a data consumer. It's basically understand what's it's basically to have the cognitive sense to interpret language, in my opinion, because you're being communicated to in natural language and you just need to make sense of it. And also have business domain to make the most of the business. Have to move past in data professions that will take some level of skills and specialty. Everybody consumes data at a general and broad sense, but the following roles are roles that will demand some level of specialty and in-depth knowledge for you to be able to assume those roles. So at the top of it, we have the business analyst. Business analysts are responsible for tying data insights to actionable results that increase profitability or efficiency. They have deep knowledge of the business domain and often use SQL alongside non-coding tools to communicate insights derived from data. This is the person bringing business and the data side of things in a company. So he's going to interact with the data and have knowledge of how the business functions on a day-to-day organic crude level, and can relate what's the information within the data that he is analyzing, how that information can help processes, can help the improvement and optimization of processes in the business front, maybe to improve sales, maybe to improve market reach, maybe to improve company culture, or to improve HR operations. So it can be anything depending on the specific domain that depending on the specific domain of business that you are working with. So to be a business analyst, these are the tools that you need to master. You would need to have good knowledge of business intelligence tools, database tools, as well as spreadsheet, as well as um, have some soft skills as per being able to calculate descriptive statistics, can draw common data, you can draw common data visualization, you can present the numbers in a different form other than numbers. Maybe you can build a simple dashboard that's at the beginner level, understand the business applications of the data that you're working with. So you, like I said from the beginning, business analysts, you have to have domain knowledge. So moving forward to the intermediate skill level, we can see again that you need to have business domain knowledge, and need to have communication skills. These are the soft skills that you would need to have as a business analyst. And let's just take a look into the advanced skill level. You need to be proficient in creation of dashboards and organizing data to solve business questions. They can bring a business problem to you, and you will be able to draw processes that can solve that problem with data. And what is the yearly salary range at an international metrics? The yearly salary range is at an international metrics. You're expecting the likes of 77K per year. And that's it. That's the opportunity in being a business analyst. And we will just take the time to go through the professions one after the other. Excuse me. Just give me a minute, please. I'm having a glitch here. Okay, so we're back. Um, Hope you can still see my screen. So after we move past business analyst, we have up next on the list data analyst. So the data analyst starts with the similar task as a business analyst. Data analysts are responsible for analyzing data and reporting insights from their analysis. They have a deep understanding of the data analysis workflow and report their insights through a combination of coding and non-coding tools. So this is when the technical expectations get a little bit higher than that of a business analyst. So for a data analyst needs to have some higher technical fluency, maybe with programming languages. It needs to understand business intelligence tools. It also to understand database and spreadsheets. So I will just take a moment to um, okay, I'm still going to explain that down the line. So let's just keep our ears peeled. I wanted to talk about these tools in depth, but I have a slide for that that is going to properly clarify things. And we have these expected skills, both at the beginner level, the intermediate, and the advanced level. So a data analyst is expected to understand descriptive statistics and perform data analysis workflow, including importing, manipulating, and cleaning, calculating, and reporting on business data. And also needs to know how to organize data to solve business questions. And then we move on to the next role, which is the data scientist. The data scientist takes things a little bit higher on the scale of technicalities. So it moves from less technical roles to very technical roles. So the data scientist is the next one in the hierarchy, and we have the expected tools being programming languages, database tools, command line tools for programming purposes. Also, you have tools like Git or Bash, and then you have big data tools. So the big data tools would be maybe like Airflow and Spark. We are going to get into much context on what those tools are used for. And I'm going to share this brochure with us. I'm going to share this infographics document with us because it contains more information that we can consume effectively on this class. And for the purpose of time, we are just going to go through the roles so that we can understand the opportunities and the roles that you can break into within the data space. So up next on the list, aside from data analyst, we have the data scientist. And what does the data scientist particularly do? The data scientist investigates, extracts, and reports meaningful insights in the organization's data. They communicate these insights to non-technical stakeholders and have good understanding of machine learning workflows and how to tie them back to business applications. They work almost exclusively with coding tools, conduct analysis, and often work with big data tools. So, a data scientist is a little bit further from the business domain than the data analyst and the business analyst are. So they're a little bit further into. So when you want to look at it, you have the business side of data and then you have the development side of data. So data analysts are more tilted to the development side of data, how to develop products and how to conduct research on the products that will be developed and how to track maybe deployment data, how the product is faring after it has been launched and all of that. So they're not really into the business side of things of sales, marketing, and the rest. Yes, they can be, but at a very technical level. So the further you move from the business domain, the more you move into the development domain. And up next from the data scientist is the machine learning scientist. The machine learning scientists they solve problems like predicting customer churn and lifetime values and are responsible for deploying models for organizations to use. So let's say they want to develop models that will measure a particular sales metric. They want to understand how people are buying their product and also want to simulate to know how their products will be faring. For example, if they had this number of buyers, if these certain market conditions were like different from what it is at the moment. So that is when the predictive and analytics comes in more between the data scientists and the machine learning scientists. And up next, we have the statisticians. So the statisticians are really the science to data science, and these are the people that are concerned mostly with the academic knowledge of statistics and how it can be applied to businesses and how it can be applied to real world scenarios. And they are the people that you will call the expert context. So if you are a data scientist, you have to have a good knowledge of statistics. But if you're a statistician, it means that you're dealing mostly with experimentation and theory. And they're similar to data scientists. Statisticians work on highly rigorous analysis, which involves redesigning and maintaining experiments such as A/B tests and hypothesis testing. So they focus primarily on quantifying uncertainty and presenting findings that require exceptional degree of rigor in the finances and healthcare. So that is where the things get a little bit very delicate and needs more attention, more like that the surgeons of data science, if you want to put it that way. And then we have the programmers. The programmers fall into the developing side of data analytics. So programmers are highly technical individuals that work on data teams and work on automating repetitive tasks when assessing and working with organizations' data. They bridge the gap between traditional software engineering and data science and have a thorough understanding of deploying and sharing code at scale. So that's what a programmer does. And I believe we can also see the skills that are expected of them and the tools that they are working with. And then last on the list is data engineers. So this is the last on this list, but it's not a cast on stone kind of list. There are more nuances to this data analytics profession, and you can make a role out of specific situation, you can make a role out of broader situation. So this is just a broad picture overview of what the roles are in the data ecosystem, the data industry, and the data analytics space. So what do data engineers do? Data engineers are responsible for getting the right data into the hands of the right people. You know, we have volumes and volumes of data. At the moment, I think we have about 64 zettabytes of data according to reports over the world, and that is beyond our imagination in terms of in terms of numbers. You cannot contain that. And as this is increasing in real time, it becomes also important for us to know the ones that we actually need and the ones that we don't. And this is what the role of the data engineer is to actually source for this data. And if it's internally generated or wherever the data is, they'll get the data from where they are to where they are needed, and then make it, prepare it such that it will be useful for the next value chain. So data engineers are more like the frontliners. They get the data, they prepare it, and then they send it down the value chain. So just like any industry, you know, you have the raw materials, and the raw materials, it moves to maybe business, the raw materials to build products, and from product to wholesaler, from wholesaler to retailer, and then the final consumer. So this is like the same hierarchy that you can import into some of these data roles. So like I said, we don't have the luxury of time to cover this in depth, but this document will be made available for everyone that would be interested in to take the time to study and understand the expectations of each role and assess themselves and know which one best suits their transfer their background, and know these transferable skills that they can bring into their next career path and career choice. So we are going to take a halt for a moment with this and get back to our presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the trip is about to be over in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we are now back to our class, and we are going to continue with what we have on the next slide. And data analysis and analytics tool is what we are going to discuss next. So, of all we have discussed, um, we have talked about the, excuse me, we've talked about the roles in the data space, in the data ecosystem, what you can actually do as a data professional. You can be a data engineer, you can be a data scientist, you can be a business analyst, you can be a data analyst, you can be a programmer, you can be a machine learning and deep learning um, scientist. But what tools do you actually need to succeed in these roles? What tools do you need? So, as far as the next series of information is concerned, this is a disclaimer. Most of the tools discussed here are specific to the data analysis and, in quotes, business and data analyst roles. So we are going to be seeing more of that, but ultimately most of the tools are tools that are functional in the entire, you know, data space. So you can, there are cross-functional tools that you can use for data engineering, you can use for machine learning, and you can also use it for other roles. But emphasis is on data analysis and data analyst tools. So we move into the next slide, and I decided to make this particular slide visuals because I know some of us might be um, familiar with some of these tools. At least I know that almost 90% of people here should have some level of exposure to Excel, Microsoft Excel. It has been around the block for a long time, and even if we don't get to use them at a practical level, at some point we heard about it, and so it is here for us to understand it in the context of a data professional. And we have right here the two categories of tools that you can use as a data analyst and in the data analytics space. So we have the auto managed close tools. and we have the programming and query languages. So, like we learned earlier about the data scientist role, we noticed that they work more with codes, and this is the place that we are going to differentiate what code-based tools are and what um, auto-managed tools are. So we have here Power BI, Quickly, Tableau, and Looker. So those ones that I just mentioned are business intelligence tools. So there are tools that you can get to use with a user interface, just like this browser is a tool that we use to surf the internet, but it has an interactable user interface. So it means, therefore, that you don't really get to write too much codes while you're using them, and you can learn them just with interacting with the interface, just by interacting with the interface. And the Power BI, Tableau, and Looker, they are business intelligence tools, and they are very powerful. They can be very, very powerful to process high volumes of data and to make data visualizations for data communication. So if you are proficient, for example, with Power BI, it therefore means that you have to some level of confidence the skills that you need to be a data analyst, because you will be doing both all the data analysis process with that tool. You don't necessarily have to write any code. And then we have the spreadsheet tools, being the Google Sheet and the Excel. Spreadsheet tools are tools that you use to arrange data in rows and columns so that you can look at them in a structured manner. I'm sure we have seen a spreadsheet at least more than once in our entire lifetime, and we don't have the time to get into showing how these tools work. And we won't be covering that in the course of this presentation, but this is what we need to understand. These are the auto-managed tools that you don't need to write much of code. You just need to understand how to use the interface. And down at the bottom, we have BigQuery. BigQuery is a serverless database management tool that is provided by Google, and it's very, very powerful. It is cloud-based, and it can be a very powerful tool if you know how to use it. And then on the right hand, we have programming and query languages, which are more of the abstract kind of tools that you don't really get to interact with any interface, but you have to write the codes that will perform the operations that you want. So on the top of the list, we have Python, and we have SQL, we have R, and we have Julia. So Python is an open source language. R is an open source language. It means that they are not languages that you pay. They are not services that you pay to access. When you call them open source, it means that they are free to use and they are free to learn. So the next slide is going to explain more of that. And then we have Julia, which is also a very powerful language. And you can combine the two of these, and you can specialize in one aspect. But for the purpose of holistic competence, it is always advised that we as data professionals have good grasp of both. Maybe a little bit on one side, but we should have at least basic and working understanding of the two categories of tools. And moving forward, we are going to just take a quick glance at the differences between these tools. So the auto-managed tools are closed source, which means you have to pay for licenses to have access to use them, while the programming languages are open source and you don't have to pay. You can access the language and start doing things with them. So the auto manage can be expensive, it can be limited, and but they are very easy to learn. And on the programming side, they are free. They're extremely powerful because they are working at a faster processing power than the auto managed tools. And the steep learning curve is also a thing to be aware of. It takes longer for you to gain mastery over these tools, if we are going to be completely honest. But some people assimilate more than some people, so it means they can get better at it faster than you would, or any other person might. And so those are the tools that we can broadly say is involved within the data analyst role and the data analytics ecosystem at a broader picture. So, how do you become a data professional in all of this that we're saying? Um, we have talked about the. Excuse me, please. A minute. So we've talked about a number of things. We've talked about the tools, we've talked about the roles. So how do you actually get to become someone that will be using all these tools or working in one of these roles? How do you get to become a data professional? How do you get to become a data analyst? Where do you start if you want to become, let's say, a data engineer or a machine learning scientist or a data scientist? How do you start that? How do you navigate your way? What resources do you need? So we're going to be discussing the following outlines. We are going to be discussing learning parts. We are going to be discussing the opportunities that you can use to navigate your way to becoming a data professional. And we are going to mention a couple of mentors that we can start following in order to have more resources on how to break into the data space and become a data professional, as well as list out some communities that we can integrate ourselves into to make our learning journey quite easy. And right about now, we have here for the learning parts. So the purpose of these learning parts, I took my time to come up with this short list that I believe would be more effective than anything else that you might find out there. So the purpose is to help your journey to be structured. You know, you can say, I want to be a guitarist, for example, and then you start watching random YouTube videos on how to play guitar and to maybe master this certain chord or this certain note and all of that. And before you know, you might end up being exhausted. You might end up with fatigue, and you just cannot make sense of the entire process because you do not have targets, you do not have objective, you do not cannot measure your growth and your progress. So these structured learning resources are intended to give you that incremental journey to where you are to where you should be and where you want to be, and from there you gain understanding of how it really works through doing and learning. So let's not get into, I believe you get a picture of what this is intended to serve, the purpose this is intended to serve. So we have here on the top, we have Coursera, and Coursera, we know, as most of us will know, is is an edutech, is a tech giant that has great affiliations in many industries, not just the tech industry. Despite the fact that they're tech industry, they interact with a lot of industries. That means they have a broad domain understanding of many industries. So they came up with a course on Coursera that you can jump into and take the opportunity. So you can start with that course. I personally have had experience with that course, and I can tell you out of experience, it is a very effective foundational course for anybody that wants to break into the data analytics space, and is going to give you hands-on experience, measurable growth, and you will know and see that you're making progress. Another resource to explore would be data camp. So we have Datacam, and they have curated courses, they have tracks, and they have career curated courses for data analysts roles, for data engineer, for machine and deep learning scientists, programmers, as well as statisticians. So the brochure we saw earlier is actually what their infographics, and they have a course that covers all of those roles that they were discussing on the document. So you can take advantage of data camp as well, and get to learn in a measurable way what you need to know to land the certain roles that you want, to land your desired roles. And also, a very good place to have structured learning is the Google Cloud certification learning part. So, Google Cloud is one of Google's products, and for the fact that the products are so broad and very very sophisticated, they had came up with curated courses and tutorials and trainings and labs, laboratory experiences that you can use to navigate your way into understanding those products and gaining mastery over them. So it is a very effective way of learning the skills that you want depending on the career choice that you want to go for. So you can jump on one of those and you learn them, and also you get to learn, and you also get to have the advantage of having cloud skills, because everything about Google, as far as cloud analytics and data analytics is concerned, is based on cloud. So you'll not just be learning how to become a data analyst or a data engineer or a machine learning scientist. You'll be learning how to become a cloud data engineer, a cloud data scientist, a cloud data analyst. So you actually gain cloud skills while learning the basal skills, while learning the basic skills. And that's an advantage. That's an advantage in the labor space, it's an advantage in the market space. And these are things that I can only tell you because I am on the inside, I am working within the space, and I know really what comes up in demand on the job. And I can tell you, if you pick interest in those courses, you will see the effects in your data journey, in your career journey. And then also for the code intensive learning, I would like to specify this for the code intensive roles like the data scientists and the machine learning and the programmers. Free Code Camp is a very useful resources. They are mostly specialized on coding tutorials, and they have curated courses that you can use to navigate your way from the easier parts to the advanced parts, and also exercises that is going to test your understanding of these tools. And this is just a limited list. We can provide more of this on subsequent interactions. And I just want us to have this few so that we can have something to start with. And then also you can join amazing communities, docs, and conferences. And that's going to give you the necessary information you need to navigate your way, and also an opportunity to organically interact with people that are already in the space. So events, conferences, meeting real life people, and interacting with them can boost your journey in a way that you might not do. Someone can just share resources with you because we met the person physically and he works in the same industry that you're interested in. So those are the learning parts, and we are going to share this slide, and the links to these resources will be attached to the slide, and we are all going to have a one-way link to where we can find them. But also on your own, you can still search for them and make the most of them. So the next on our list of things to discuss would be scholarship opportunities, scholarships and learning opportunities. So the purpose of this information is to give us advantage and edge over cost, because these are cost saving opportunities for us to get into learning the skills that are required and going through the training that are required to land the roles that we want to land in the data space. So without much waste of time, because I can look into the time and it's getting fast against us, we have the Google Profession Certificate Partners, professional certificate partners, and one of them is Root Hub. So what happens is, excuse me, what happens is that every year there is funding from Google to all these incubators to train people in Google tools and get people Google certified. So these hubs and these certificate partners um, design learning programs for people to sign up and learn these things. And you can search for Twitter, you can search on Twitter for Root Hub, and you'll find them. And you can search for the certificate partners, you're going to find them scattered all over. And you can start from there. And also, there are data camp scholarships. We have Ingressive for Good, we have FB Flames. These names, if you search them up, you're definitely going to find information on them, and they provide scholarships on data camp. And you can jump on one of those scholarships. If you get admitted, if your application gets admitted, you are going to have maybe 1 year access to premium learning resources, and you get to learn and earn a credible certificate, and also get to have access into exclusive communities from these learning academies. And another one that I failed to include here would be the ALX program. You can also take advantage of that. And then for the data engineering enthusiasts, the people that have interest in data engineering, Seal Academy is the one-stop place for cloud scholarships and data engineering scholarships. They're currently admitting at the moment, and you can jump on it. You can shoot them an application before the application closes, before the deadline closes, and hopefully if your application is good enough, you can get admitted into the scholarship. And then also we have Microsoft curated courses. You can go to Microsoft Learn, and they have courses curated based on career, based on tools, based on industries, and you can make the most of that. Another useful information to mention would be a certain man that has been really helpful in the data space, especially around Nigeria. His name is Olanrewaju Onyimbuk, and on Twitter you're going to find him as the Onyimbuk, and he's a Microsoft cloud advocate. He shares a lot of opportunities, he shares lots of resources directly from Microsoft because he works with them and he has first-hand resources that can boost your learning process and growth. So more of this will come to us after the class with the slides. And we have people to follow. So at the end of the day, you're going to need people to follow and people to ask practical questions that maybe internet cannot give you readily. So this is just a short list of people to follow and people that you can jump on their timeline to stay updated with what is happening in the tech space and the data space in particular. So these are communities and mentors that you can follow. So we have a community on Twitter that is called Dear Analyst. So if you search on your Twitter immediately, you're going to find that information and you can join the community and you're going to see people post about their growth and what they are doing on a day-to-day and also asking questions. And you can easily integrate into the community and into the industry organically from these communities. We have the local techies hashtag. You can search for that on Twitter as well. I already mentioned the Oyinbook. He's a very resourceful man and a very, very supportive mentor to everyone that is striving to get into the data space. And this is first class information only for you. And then also myself, my Twitter handle is Acquire on Twitter. So you can also follow me. And then if you have further questions after the ones we are going to answer in this class, you can still shoot me a DM. My DMs are open, and I can give you more context to what you might be trying to find answers to. And then also you can make the most of Twitter spaces, LinkedIn spaces, and community. You go to Twitter, you're going to see communities that are related to what you have interest in. You can see a data analyst group, you can see a data engineering group. Even on Slack, you just go out there in the internet, you're going to find a lot of them. But Twitter and LinkedIn specifically are those social spaces that you find professional content and professionals on them for you to follow and have industry standard information. So it has been hard getting feedback because I do not have any audio input from the listeners, but so far we've been able to cover a number of things, and I know there are a number of questions and some of them may have been forgotten already, but for the ones that we still have, that's why you needed to have a pen and a paper, and hopefully you had that and there are questions. So if at all there are any questions, I hope there are, and let us bring them on so that we can clear doubts and unveil mysteries. So if there are any questions, please do well to share them in the chat box. I'm looking at the chat box now, and we are going to answer them. And also, after this, we are going to get the resources that we need to make actions and take actions with as far as this class is concerned. Any questions? I'm still waiting on the chat box for questions.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much for the past 40 minutes of enlightenment and insightful talk. So because we are already almost, we are just 1 minute into our 1 hour mark, and you wouldn't want to eat too much into your own time too, right? So
yeah.
I think what I'll just do is collate all of the questions from the community and send them to you, and then you could just do like a very brief list of answers and then share back with members of the community.
That would do. That would
Yeah,
do.
yeah. But anyways, thank you so much for making our time to um, guide and teach us on the ways of data and data analysis and the entire career of of everything data. It's been wonderful having you here. Thank you so much for honoring this invite.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. So guys, it's been 1 hour of insight. It's been 1 hour of learning. It's been 1 hour of education. Um, I have nothing but praise for our teacher tonight, and also once again apologies for how the entire stream started. Obviously, it's our first time, it's our first masterclass session, and sometimes these things just happen. But I promise that subsequent live sessions would be much better than it is right now. So yeah, I guess we would call it a night then. Next into next week, or yeah, by Monday we'll be having an a pre-Valentine Twitter space. I hope you guys are ready to join and excited. And by next Friday we'll be having a Twitter space with one of our senior designers, and we'll be closing the month with another masterclass session. So keep your eyes peeled on our social pages. If you're yet to join the community, please click the link in bio to join and catch up in the community. Thank you all so much for staying around. Thank you for joining in. I really appreciate your time and effort. See you same time, same station. Bye everyone.